bogged down, like, oh, I have to have 20 things. No, you don't. One thing or no thing is fine. Impressions. Well, it's all about impressions. So I tell you numbers. So I have 3,000, 20 million, but those are all impressions. But you have impressions too, and you have to figure out what your impressions are. It's how many people have interacted with you. So in your media kit, a good way to start getting media for yourself is to say to the network journal or any magazine or newspaper, is like, you know what, can I write for you? I'm an expert in prison culture or prison world or whatever. I'd like to write for you, and you don't have to pay me the first few times, but when I get a following, I expect payment. What happens is you get a byline, and all of a sudden you get instant legitimacy. And that's what this game is all about. Even with social media, there's something about print that legitimizes you right away. If you ever open up a newspaper magazine, you see somebody in there, all of a sudden they're God. You know? Right? So you know, I'm sorry, it's water. You want to make sure that you get that. Write for somebody for free. I did that in the beginning. I wrote for Black Enterprise, and then when I'm like, okay, now you're gonna pay me. Know your worth, but in the beginning, if you don't have anything, what's free? You ain't got nothing anyway. Right?
You trying
to get some.
Question. So on that page where you showed all of the logos, do you have links out to the articles that you wrote for?
Well, they can always ask for those articles, but because it is on this, it's a media kit, so they'll ask you for it or what, but they can click on it. But it's not my media kit's not a live link. But if you research in Google, all that stuff comes up, so you just can't like fabricate stuff.
So would you suggest putting a link behind the logo, or let them do that themselves?
You know, here's the deal. Media people, they're shallow. They just want to see what you've done, and then at the end of the day, they're going to vet you anyway.
Yeah.
It's a vetting process.
Or their intern's going to vet you.
Yeah, the intern. So I can have 50 things, and they find out I'm lying. They will do their research. Right. So you don't have to put links, and nobody cares. Okay, not yet.
So is this your press kit or your media kit? Is this downloadable on your website, or is this something you send?
I send it.
You send this along with your press release?
Honestly, no, not now.
Okay.
I used to when I started out. Now I send a pitch letter with my media kit. But once you get on a show, you don't even need to send a pitch letter. They'll say, what do you got for me this month? And your job is to get to a point where you are the go-to expert in your field. So I'm the go-to mommy reinvention postpartum chick, and I'm okay with it. So your point is to get to that point, but in the beginning you do send all those things. You may send a press release first, a pitch letter. I find nowadays a pitch letter works better than press release because, only because, if you're trying to get media, it is attacking a need. See, you have to understand all these shows are live. They have a lot of stories to fill. And so they're looking to outshine the competitors. So they're looking for new ideas because a lot of times you see the same talking heads. That's what we call them, the same people. So you'll see Sharpton if it's a political thing. You know, you'll see, Susie Orman's a financial thing. So what happens is their challenge is to find the next talent. And that's where you come in. You're the next face because America is looking different.
That's right.
And you've got to realize that is how you start to leverage yourself. Did I answer your question? Okay. Okay, so important to know is that you want to talk about, like I said, crisis, like what are you solving? What are the topics you offer? Because this media kit, it's not only great for the media, let's say you want to get some speaking gigs to pay you. Because I'm here to tell you, like, what media does, it fuels. Media is the engine that's going to fuel opportunities. So even if you have one thing, if somebody sees you in one thing that legitimizes you, they're going to call you and say, hey, we have an event happening or a workshop. Can you present and how much do you charge? So your goal is you want to take the media to fuel it so you can get other residual income. So this is what this does. So my media kit is not only for the media, it's also to get speaking engagements. So I have two. This one doesn't have pricing, but if you request me, I'm going to send you my pricing. but you don't send pricing unless somebody requests you.
Right.
Because you never want to turn somebody off, and money has a way of turning people off. Am I lying?
No.
Is it okay to turn? The next thing is quotes. Oh, did you need it?
Oh, no, I got that.
Okay, the next thing is quotes, praises, whatever you want to call it, but who you've worked with, some of your clients, what do they say about you? What makes you so great?
Jill Scott.
Yeah, put that down. You want to have all that stuff down. Your client list, who have you worked with? Because they're going to vet you anyway. They're going to check out your client list, so put who you've worked with. Okay, always have photos, because photos makes it seem like you're personable. See, this whole thing about media, why you see the same people every time on TV for anything? Because they know that they're going to deliver. See, media is about delivering. You always got to have energy, high energy. You've always got to be personable. Nobody wants to watch somebody on TV depressing, droning on, because you know what? That is everybody's life. So you want somebody that's going to come in and be like, I'm so happy to be here. That is what you want. Energy sells. No, you're laughing, but energy sells.
True, yeah. Too much caffeine.
If I came in today, I haven't had any caffeine because I'm on a 7-day caffeine diet. But if I, and you're like, oh God, right?
Tell me how you're doing that. Oh my God.
Huh?
Tell me how you're doing that.
I'm doing horribly. I'm drinking instead of questions, you gotta also ask, frequently ask questions. People are gonna ask you about your, how do you travel, what are your speeches, what are your this. This is things for you to forecast, plan ahead, because you never know. Frequently ask questions. What I did when I compiled my media kit, look at those who have theirs. Go on their website and see, Susie Orman, whomever it is your bar is, see what they asked for. Modify yours. I didn't just sit down and create this. I copied it from somebody else who does it. Went on their website, and then I change it to suit my needs. So don't think about you have to reinvent stuff. All you have to reinvent is your information.
Right.
Don't copy somebody, but reinvent how it works for you. And then, of course, the back cover. But in a nutshell, that is what your media kit is going to look like. It's going to be your brand. It's your business card. It's your calling card.
And how are you presenting this, Karen? Are you presenting it, you're sending someone to a site where it is, or are you presenting it on a disc, or?
Not even that sophisticated. I'm just emailing it.
Okay, that's a PDF document.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a PDF document. It's digital. It's not that sophisticated. You
Digital
can,
print.
yeah, and you go to my site, you can. And here's the thing. Because it's my information, it's secured lock. So you can't download it from my site. You can look at it, but you can't download it. And so you may want to have preferences where you can protect yourself.
Well, what's wrong with it being downloaded, from someone to download it from your site?
Because this is my information, I'm copyright. I don't want you taking my information and using it for yourself in a way that you have it. But
people
you
can screen print.
Nowadays you can. But a lot of times download, people are like, oh, I can't download it. Well, you're not supposed to. You read it. But yeah, you can, shift F4 and do it. Who cares?
Well, I just didn't know what was wrong with, because I think on my website you can download my bio. Is that?
A bio is fine.
Okay.
A media kit is something that is that you put a lot of time in, that you know that you want to have it. Put it this way, it's like, you don't want it on the 99-cent rack, and when it's downloaded, it becomes a 99-cent thing. But if you send it to a producer, they can read it. But they're not going to download it, because once they look at it, they're done with it. Your bio, yeah, you want that downloadable, you want that passed around, but maybe not this.
Okay.
Unless they say, you know what, I really can't read it. Can you send it to me? Is there a secure site I can get? Is there FTP I can get it on? Then you're like, sure.
And I have one other question.
Yeah, sure.
How much does that, because I like a lot of that information you have. I have all that information for myself. They're just in different PDF documents. It's not that fancy. How much did it cost? Can you give us an idea of what it costs to get that?
This cost me between $1,500 and $2,500. But let me just say that it cost me that. However, I didn't start out with this. I started out with something I put together. It was a JPEG photo of myself. It was a one-sheet bio. It was pretty much like a PowerPoint. And that's what I would send out. You work with what you have.
Thank you.
Okay? All I did was use the colors that were my brand and kept it consistent. But a lot of times we get so caught up in the packaging that we wait for the right opportunity. When I get this extra, when that extra stuff comes, you made it for something else. So I started out with just one little clipping. It was from the Amsterdam News, and I had my photo, I had a bio, and I had like 5 testimonials. Because I feel like if you don't have money to do something right, what are the areas I can enhance? I can enhance my testimonials. I could always get people to talk about me, right? I could always put a photo. So PowerPoint or Keynote, which is on Mac, is great for that because you can embellish without spending the money you don't have. Answered question?
And they have templates.
And they have great templates now. They're so sophisticated. Yeah.
So it's better to take your info if it's in if they're in separate PDFs right now.
Put it all
on a PowerPoint.
Yeah, PowerPoint or Keynote. There's so many great programs now that can make it look so impressive that you don't have to spend that. You know what I mean? Don't wait for it to be together. Just make it what you need and keep it moving.
Okay.
And when you did the 1,500, who did you?
A graphic designer did this for me. I wrote the copy, supplied the photo, and said, this is what I want on these pages. Here are my colors. Can you make it look this way? And then that's what it is. Yeah. Oh, is this helping you guys or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can take your thing, you know?
Okay. Quiet. Somebody's listening in my class. Yeah, listening in my class.
I have a 2-part question. For a folder, like a paper version of your kit, how many pages would you suggest?
If you must, 3.
3.
Yeah. Folders are so yesterday.
Yeah.
Really, really are. I'd rather you send like a brochure than a folder.
Right.
Really. Because the game has changed and everybody's scrutinizing packaging and presentation is everything. I'd rather you go to paper presentation on 18th Street, spend $20 on some really nice paper or whatever, and make a brochure. Right? You know what I mean? You gotta think about the competition. Your job as your own publicist is to think outside the box. So I remember once when I was submitting a proposal for a company and they wanted to do something, it was PR, and they wanted to do something with like channeling the ancestors or whatever. It was actually for Outcast, the group. So I went to the store and I made voodoo dolls. And I got the project. It's like, and that cost me $20. Like, you just can't send stuff regular, especially if you are regular. You know what I mean? So it's the mindset. It's like, I'm gonna send them voodoo dolls. They have this thing called Witch Doctor. So I made Witch Doctors, and that's what they were going with it. And it took me like no time. Some stick figures, you know, Witch Doctor, some medicine little thing, put some sand in it. But you know, when you're on a budget, you start to get creative. And that's why I tell you people, like, don't think about what I don't have. Think about what you do have, and what you do have is you have your noggin. What? But it's true, you have your noggin, you can get supplies, arts and craft rules still, and people are not doing that. Everybody's sending an email, everybody's doing the traditional route. Your job as your own publicist is always shock value. Shock sells. Think about your life as a reality TV. Shock sells. So yeah, to answer your question, don't do a
Nothing
kit.
that extreme.
Yeah, but don't do a kit. Just do a brochure, do a package, or do something, you know. Let them get the essence of who you are. So when they get it, like a good tip, if you're trying to get a media person to notice you now, because it's getting cold, send a card with, like, you know, from the beach, a postcard from a tropical place, or Valentine's card in a red envelope. Your goal is to always stand out. And so when you think about being a PR person, a PR agent, how am I going to stand out? If everybody's sending white and brown, I'm going to send red. I'm going to send green. I'm going to send yellow. Do whatever people are not thinking. Send a Christmas card in January or send a Christmas card in June. I got your card. I don't have anything for you right now, but the minute it comes, I'm going to call you. And how did you get that call? I get that call all the time. I don't have anything for you right now, Karen, but I promise you, when you get something, I'm gonna call you. Call back. I have nothing for you right now, Karen, but I promise. And then you get the call. I have something for you. So these things, they do add up. Trust me when I tell you. It's like,
remember that you're the one that sent
the Christmas, but then also like you went the extra mile. You follow. I can have the best kit in the world, and if I don't follow up, if I don't have a relationship with them, I don't even know them. But if I'm not calling to say, hey, I saw that great article you wrote yesterday on so and so. Really, I like the way, I like your insight on it. Just want to let you know that I could have sent an email, but I thought hearing my voice would be better.
So you're saying follow-up is calls and written notes?
Absolutely. And also, the secret to getting PR, never pitch yourself at the beginning. Rule number one. Why? Because everybody's pitching themselves. So if you're calling and saying 2 tips. Tip number 1, I really like that article you wrote yesterday. I didn't think about that kind of perspective, but you really made me think about something. Thanks. Second tip. I know this great company that's in such and such. They're doing so and so. You may want to get them on your radar. Leave it alone. The universe does the rest. I did that when I was a publicist. I would pitch people I didn't even know who their publicist was for GQ, whatever. And what would happen? They would call me like, my boss didn't know. True story. I remember years ago, many moons ago, Cedric the Entertainer. You guys heard of him? Oh no. And I remember I was trying to get my artist into GQ. And I said, let me take a different route. And so I called her and I was like, oh, how's your day going? I didn't really have a good relationship with her yet. And I said, what are you working on? Always ask a question because you're an expert. Your job is to solve the problem. It's like being a therapist. And so she said, I really need somebody for this GQ, it wasn't it list or hot list or something. And I really need somebody African American. Really? Have you seen Kings of Comedy? No. You did not. It's on her radar. Why would you see Kings of Comedy? I'm like, there was no site, send a site over. It wasn't that sophisticated. I'm going to fax you over. That's how old I am. A couple of pages of this person named Cedric, and I think he really stole the show.
Oh, yeah.
She calls me back in 30 minutes. Oh my God, love, never heard of him. Call his agent. He's going to host our thing. Heaven. Call me back 3 months later. So I got invited to the event. That's the first thing because it's all about networking. It's all about meeting people. They remember that. And the next 3 months later, she called me. She's like, you know what? You really saved me. What do you have that I can do for you? You solved the problem. Now I'm here to tell you that sometimes you don't get the dividends right away, but you will, because they will remember that, especially if you become a go-to person for them. So your job is to always be a problem solver, and when you're pitching yourself, all they see is, even a blogger, what you need. But when you remove yourself and say, you know what, this may not be in your radar, you might look kind of good if I tell you this. Walk away. This one is free. Walk away. They'll call you. Because then they'll be like, oh, you become a source. And once you're a source, whatever you need, you're going to get. Just think about it. Try something different every time. Something works for some, something works for others, but just try something different. There is no formula any longer for PR. Like, you can follow somebody on Twitter, and you can pose a question. But if you look at Twitter, what's happening on Twitter is it's the person who is being the most engaging. So you always want to just be engaging. Play your post, and they'll come to you. It's like dating. The more accessible you are, all of a sudden, you're really not that cute anymore. But the minute you stop paying attention, what happened? It's the same person, but they're not paying attention to you. So play your post. Just think about dating. Or whatever it is that, if it's cooking, whatever it is that getting you excited, think about that.
Oh yeah, just my question. What we're discussing now is for really like publicists, correct?
No, for you to be your own publicist.
Right, okay. So once I become my own publicist, I'd like to know how, the issues that I'm so concerned about, how can I transform that and get it out into the correct, so that's what we were touching on, right?
But yes and no, like, first you put in the horse before the cart. Like, first you have to understand, like, no matter what your issue is, if you don't have a good pitch letter, nobody cares. If you don't have a media kit, nobody cares. If you're not offering something, no one cares. See, a lot of times it's like, we're like, this is what I need now. But they're like, but no, this is what I need now. Right. So your job, number one, is always solve the problem.
Okay.
So how are you going to become a problem solver? Because you're an expert. What are you an expert about? That's what you're going to talk about in your letter. That's what you're going to talk about in your pitch. But in order to do that, you have to know, when should I call somebody? What do they like to write about? Is it animal rescue, and is that their passion? Maybe not. Oh, maybe they train horses. Okay, I have it in. It's all about the research. Before you do anything, you've got to research.
No, I just wanted to gather, because I know that some people know more. Okay.
Sure.
So
this is just, the first thing is just like, this is what I need to craft a campaign, because like I said earlier, this whole game is a campaign. I don't care where you are in your life right now, PR is a campaign, and every stage offers something different. The first stage is telling your story, and everybody here has a story. From the accidental entrepreneur to whomever, to you finding that, oh, I really love animals. Everybody has a story, but the thing is, like, why is your story relevant to millions of people? And that's what media is. Why, whatever you have to say, why would somebody care? What makes it so life-shattering? And the things you need to keep in mind all the time about media: follow what is in the news. Whether you read it online or in the paper, in the magazine, or on the news, what's in the news? The economy. How can my company solve a need for the economy? So for you, the prison. Well, your story is, look, they're building more prisons than they are corporations, and prison is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. Here is what I found out, what happens when whomever goes to prison. And here are my tips to alleviate. Or here's my tips to empower those. See what I'm saying? So the economy, like, no matter what you do, your story still fits into the economy. So it's economy, and then the next thing there's a lot of things about is health. People are dying younger. They're having strokes. Heavy D was 44.
Oh, he had pneumonia.
Yeah, but it was combined. So people are dying younger. So
he was really young too.
But he had sarcoidosis.
Oh, but there's a growing number of people dying younger?
Yes.
People are living longer.
Well, here's what's happened. The sandwich generation, our parents, are living longer. The 35 to 50 generation is dying because of life stress, because lifestyle is no longer, unemployment, economy. Yeah, seriously. So healthcare. So health is a huge, huge story. How does my company solve the need for this? How do I, so stress, family, diabetes, all that stuff. What I talked about before, the economy, recreational sports, cooking, lifestyle. Lifestyle is always huge, because in the midst of a bad economy, people want to escape. Travel, vacations, no matter what. But especially in a bad economy. Depression, medication, fashion. So that's why you think celebrity sells. It's escapism for people. So you've got to watch the news and say, where does it fit? So for if it's animal rescuers or dogs or whatever, then you can talk about, like, how perceptive animals are when there's a natural disaster about to happen. Why you see animals flee when there's a tsunami.
Therapy.
So yeah, so all those things, it's like, there's a story in everything. So why I say is, like, you've got to understand the science. What are they talking about the news today? Michael Jackson. Okay, so don't just think about it as, like, a celebrity story. Think about that as, like, a health medical story. Think about that as a business story. Somebody was getting paid, right? How are those drugs are they being bought on the internet? So, okay, I'm an IT person. Oh, I can talk about that. all those transactions, how to code transactions.
Community, where his people had his back when he was up on
compounds. So fashion, you know, like there's a story in everything you see on the news, and your job is to find out where does my story fit. Because once you find out the formula, and the formula basically is this: I can solve this problem if you use these tips. Why did you decide to sell cosmetics internationally than locally? Why?
There's a need for